Hey everyone, this is Felix from Germany, aka Moonfruit, and it is time for another update. It is time to let you guys in on my tank's progress. Because the special occasion is, my tank is coming up on its 7-year anniversary this year. So I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm counting myself really lucky to have made it this far. And even though those years didn't pass without a lot of problems, I think my tank is currently doing really well, and I hope you can tell and also agree with me. Of course, there are some small and minor issues here and there, which I won't be hiding from you guys, so you'll be able to spot some imperfections here and there in the video, because they're just normal, they're just part of the Reef reality, they're nothing to worry about, and all I did for this video was clean the glass. So since I'm mostly known for taking pictures and posting them on Instagram, I thought that's not good enough anymore to really capture the progress and rapid change of my reef tank. So because of that, this is the first video of a series that I have prepared. It will be yet another step in the journey of my reef tank. So if you would like to be part of this journey, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will be answering all your comments, questions and feedback you may have in the comment section. And to start off that series, I'm just gonna show off my favorite angles and shots of the tank, talk about the good and bad things that are happening, and you get to enjoy a bunch of eye candy. So to start off, my probably biggest problem right now, if you can even call it problem, is that the tank is really struggling with its own success. It's probably the best problem to have, and it's probably what everybody is kind of wishing for. But the thing is that the corals are doing a bit too well, because coral warfare is a big deal right now. I have a lot of coral in a somewhat small tank, and the coral density is just crazy. There's coral warfare everywhere, there's corals growing on corals, there's corals stinging each other, and it's just really an issue, right? So if you want your corals to all get along and always be happy, here's my pro tip for you, is prune and frag them on a regular basis. Because otherwise you're gonna end up with colonies that are way too big, and best case you end up with a couple of ugly dead spots here and there where the corals stung each other. Worst case, you lose one or even both of the fighting colonies. Either way, you'll end up having to chop up or even reset your whole colonies, which always breaks my heart, because that's breaking up the proof of your blood, sweat and tears, and money of course. So don't just let your corals grow indefinitely, and remember to frag them every now and then, which I guess with some of the more expensive species is probably not something you need to be reminded of. Other than that, I'm happy to say that most corals in my tank at the moment are really happy. The colors are great, the growth is okay considering I'm constantly struggling with a slightly lowered pH, and after having the tank for so long, you really have to appreciate the corals that stayed with you for such a long time. Literally the survivors of every mistake you've made along the way, every problem that has occurred, and every single time Murphy's Law struck once again. So I would like to ask you to guess in the comments which of the corals shown in this video are my oldest corals. You might actually be surprised, because some of them I've had since this tank was set up, and some of them I've had even before that. I am genuinely curious to see what you guys are thinking in the comments. And while you're down there, let me know what color spectrum you would like to see my videos to be recorded under. You are currently seeing my monster of a bubble coral under a balanced full spectrum light, which is being produced by my Radeon Gen 4s, my Blue Plus T5s by ATI, as well as some ultraviolet LED strips, which is just great to bring out the pinks and purples of all the corals, like for example this Milka stylophora. This is basically what I would consider a blue shot, which is the same setting except that I've dialed back the radions to only produce blue and violet light. last but not least, we have the all blue shot produced by all the blue and violet LEDs, minus the T5s, plus using an orange filter. Because up next is a little bit of a montage of eye candy, some of my favorite corals, recorded under different lights. So you tell me what you prefer, and I will take that into account next time I'm recording a video. So for the end of the video, I'm just going to spoil you with a bunch of top-down shots of my tank. I love this view because it's just another perspective to enjoy all your corals. Like for example, this super bouncy interstellar mushroom you couldn't even see from the side. And yeah, well, you get to enjoy this. I'm just gonna keep rambling on about my tank because there's one more thing I really wanted to talk about. And yeah, it's just another thing that you just notice when you have a tank for this long, is that you really iron out most of the problems and possible issues over time. So knock on wood, I don't want to jinx it, but as your tank enters like this autopilot mode over time, everything just works. And don't get me wrong, because it's not as easy as it sounds, because that is literally the fruit you harvest for doing a good job early on. And it's also not completely without a continuous effort on your end, because while I dialed back, for example, on water changes, that doesn't mean I don't keep track of water parameters on a regular basis by testing at home and also sending in an ICP test every other month. It's just really important to keep your finger on the pulse and observe your corals and like listen to your corals. This is also something you develop a feel for over time. It's not something you can learn overnight. Nowadays, all I do is clean the glass, feed the fish, keep the equipment clean, and just follow my regular routine. You don't have to perform miracles, just be diligent about your routine and give your corals the time to develop the reef. Just another thing that I see a lot of people do that I never do is every time you see just a slight problem, a minor issue, you shouldn't go out of your way and like immediately run and buy a miracle cure for that minute problem. because usually problems take care of themselves, and especially with a reef tank, you don't want to stress out all your corals because there's a tiny patch of cyano somewhere on the sand. It just comes and goes. You don't need to worry about it. Like algae, cyano, like I consider these like minor problems. Like literally I couldn't care less if there's a little bit of brown sludge on my sandbed, and it's just also like an attitude you learn over time, because early on you get really excited like that there's something wrong, that you want to fix this problem. It's natural to think this way, but it is that like attitude you just pick up over time. It's like, oh yeah, cyano again, comes and goes, next week it's gone. I mean, in bad cases you might have to treat it, right? But like, just because it's a little bit of a small problem, you don't need to like immediately fix it. You're just messing with all the other corals that are otherwise doing just fantastic. So I guess if there's one more tidbit of advice I could give you is, before you go out of your way and try to fix an issue that would potentially just cause even more problems, just give it time. Give it like a week, give it 2 weeks, give it 4 weeks. It's natural for stuff to be in your tank that you might not like to look at immediately, but it's just part of the reef reality. So I'm not saying to not intervene when there's a coral that flipped over. I'm just saying to maybe be a bit more laid back on certain things that you consider an issue. And if you've made it this far into the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. The next video is probably gonna be about the equipment as well as everything I do to keep the tank running. In the meantime, feel free to check out my last videos.